we thought that we would have elder and a young person, me being the young person, of course. I am Cynthia, Ellis, and the president of the National Garifuna Council San Ignacio branch, just one of the chapters. And then we decided that we would have two elders, right? And we call him Chief.
Thank you. Thanks for the title. I'm David Williams.
Okay, so we are redefining concepts according to honor and respect and love. So our colleague comes from St. Vincent and it's about building bridges and making connections. So unanimously we agreed that we want an organization. No if not, there may be. And however, we decided that we would start with a working group. We wanted to propose a working group as a mechanism. We looked at caucus and network, and very thankful for the presentation just now because they gave an excellent option of how to combine the different aspects of the process, you know. So I cannot start. How could I start without thanking the Guyana contingent? Oh my goodness, you all have done an awesome job in hosting us. Could we please give them a round of applause? We have decided to go on the thread of celebration. In spite of all the issues and the challenges and so on, we are convinced and dedicated and committed to knowing that we are overcomers. I mean, we are here in spite of it all. So that's the foundation on which we want to build. So we have an organization. However, in order to get to the organization, we'd like to go through a process of having a working group. I'll not repeat what my other colleagues have presented. However, we went specifically on the questions, and I'll go through them one by one. To whom would the mechanism be accountable? Okay? So, the accountability, as our brother said earlier on, and sister, is that would be to our people, the indigenous people. We also had some of the concerns that you mentioned that we would need to go back and consult with groups and organizations that we represent here. However, we did not want to keep out those who are not here. We are very confident, however, that those who are in this room, who have been part of the conversation from the beginning of the past, even if it's a day and a half, although it might seem a short time, day and a half, we were building on years and years of experience and achievements. So those of us in this room would be the ones that we would like to offer for moving this process forward. So we don't want to leave here hanging in the air as to what we'll do next, because the investment of time and energy has been great. So we want to have something to show for the time that we have been here. So the mechanism, how will the members be elected? We changed the word elected to selected. Although we do appreciate the need for democracy and so on. So we want to propose that there be a selection election here before we leave of representatives, 2 representatives from each country. The beauty of having a working group is that it has informal possibilities. It's not like we're at the United Nations or we're campaigning for politics or anything like that. But for purposes of efficiency and manageability, we are proposing that. What will the decision-making process of the mechanism, how will it be based on? We thought that it should be based on majority voting. And for the working group, we propose that there be a chair and a secretary/treasurer for the working group. They should be selected, not elected, according to specific criteria. So we needed to design specific criteria. We meaning the working group, not me, but we. But yeah. Decisions should require ratification by their groups, meaning that the consultative process within the countries will need to take place. Then we did agree to have a youth arm. In fact, we like to acknowledge the 2 youth in our group, 2 youth, please stand up, because they contributed considerably to the conversation. And as we move forward, one of the areas that we had to consider was the area of virtual use of internet and computers and so on. And we definitely needed their assistance, technical assistance in the use of technology. Would there be a youth arm? Yes. We thought that the youth arm should have its own autonomy, but be represented, there would be youth represented as a part of the working group, but they would have their own space to discuss their issues or advance their issues. And criteria for youth should be, I think we had said the same, right? We had said different in the beginning, but it should be the same because the same kinds of issues that would be considered for us elders and not so elder would be the same for the youth in terms of commitment. We did recognize that in the process of evolving this organization, which is a must, which is a yes, we would need mentorship, coaching, and guidance. And we would ask for technical assistance. We would have like an advisory network of people who are equipped or knowledgeable in certain specific areas. This is not from the group, but this is for me. I like the presentation just now because they give a specific process for having advisors, which I think is a very good approach. Sustainability, whether we should have a constitution. We did not think that the working group needed a constitution, but certainly it needed guidelines, and a constitution would be necessary for an organization. But that is something that the working group would formulate. Then, what would be the criteria for selection and election? We would ask the representatives here in this room are representatives from different parts of the region and organizations. And we would want to propose that there will be representatives from here that would lead the consultative process to make a decision on how the organization would evolve. We had quite a bit of discussion about this, and we were very strong in holding ourselves who are in this room accountable, because we have been part of a conversation, we have been part of a process, and even though there are others who are knowledgeable and who are equipped, they have not been a part of this unique historic conversation. So we would strongly recommend that the working group be formulated by the participation of those of us who are in this room right now to take it forward, because we believe that we would have a different level of commitment. And then we could invite others to participate in the conversation on the way forward. How will the mechanism be sustained? What would be the titles and roles of officers? I dealt with that already. There should be a chair, and there should be, but I'm not sure, but she said vice chair, or my group could clarify that for me. And we should have a secretary treasurer, because this is like an interim mechanism, therefore it doesn't have to be a strict, solid, formal organization. It's more about beginning to organize or organizing. How will the officers be selected and for how long? We suggest nomination and voting here and now before we leave this room for the working group. How many members other than the officers would be required? Two per country. Right, Ms. Sandra? 2 per organization. Okay, thank you. I stand corrected. So why people need people, right? When and how will it meet? Well, that will depend on who is selected and the reality of the people who are represented in the working group. We heard the Guyana story just now, and we need to honor that. But we trust you. We trust their wisdom in terms of what it is you would need to move the process forward. And we will need to be sensitive to the concerns of each group. One of the things that came up also is that we don't want a big foreboding working group that is difficult to manage. So that's something that we were considering in selecting two per organization, two representatives. How many members other than the officers would be required? That depends on what the working group decides. We do believe that there should be like an advisory council or a network that would be recommended to the working group. Once the working group is formed, at your first meeting, which we recommend will be decided before we leave this room, before we leave this country. You set a date because this is no nonsense, no time to waste. A working group is just a mechanism. It's not the United Nations, the Organization of American States, but it's continuing this conversation that we have had in the past few days moving forward. So we would strongly recommend that the working group set some kind of time frame of when the meeting will be and where. And as our brother said just now, we would like some kind of face-to-face meeting in addition to the virtual email, texting, Facebooking, Skyping, and all the variety of ways in which the young people, we have asked the youth, that the youth arm be the ones to be engaging along with us in this level of communication because they're so savvy with the technology. And in that way, we could develop intergenerational, handing down, coaching, and mentoring. How many members other than the officers will be required? Well, that's left up to the process. When and how will it meet? That's left up to the working group. What communication mechanisms will be used? Yes, we're going to use even the drums and the coconut wireless. Whatever our indigenous wisdom and knowledge has taught us, we will embrace. We'll be creative, innovative. How will it canvas the views of those it represents? Well, that is, young people came up with some ideas in our group that we'll use a lot of, we have Facebook page. Those who don't understand internet and so on will be facilitated because we're in the age of technology. In the case of Guyana, I'm sure you can advise us on how you want to connect with the people out in the interior. Maybe we have to run in there, fly in there, I don't know, but we would certainly need to address that taking hold of technology in some shape or form. What and how will it take to raise funds? Well, this was an exciting part of the conversation. We believe that because Impact Justice has facilitated us to come here, that we will invite them, you hear what I said, invite them to collaborate and support us in advancing this conversation, and invite them also to advise us on who else we could collaborate with. However, we strongly insist on our beginning to identify and tap into our own resources and creative ways of raising funds, even with the working group. So from our group, the Director group, we thought of innovative ways like, let's say you have a population of 10,000 or 20,000, each one give $1 or something, we will do like matching. Because we want to put our money where our mouth is, that we are serious, you know? So maybe we could have a marathon, telethon. But these are ideas that the working group could explore. We also looked at the program and we identified that there were some key people who sat at this head table who said that they support us. So we would want to invite them, you know, like the president of the Court of Justice, Caribbean Court of Justice. Invite them to be like trustees, custodians, advisors, contributors to some fund foundation. I don't like to put names and titles because it gets very intricate, but you understand what I mean, right? Invite them to be a part of the process of this conversation. They didn't come here just to look handsome and look pretty, although they did. But we would like to continue to engage with them in that way. And then we also know that within our countries, we have opportunities, we have experience. When I say we, not only people in this room, but people who are outside. As the brother was talking about learning from what happened with COVID, the lessons learned, we could identify a fundraising project technical group that would focus as soon as possible on this issue. There are people who could write grants projects and who can negotiate and help us in this area of fundraising. Will the mechanism have established virtual headquarters? Well, that depends on the working group, because we figure that whoever takes on the leadership, and even the leadership, I would want to agree with our brother, that leadership is not a person or an entity. It is a state of connection and beingness where whoever takes on in the working group the responsibility or the spirit of this conversation would then be the ones we would gravitate to identify. So for example, I'm not saying this is the case now, but say, example, Guyana feels strongly to chair or to lead, then clearly it would seem that the center, the focal point would be Guyana, or Belize, or Suriname. Okay? So that was our conclusion. I don't know if my brother...
Just one addition, that this entity that we're talking about, the working group, will have a specific lifetime or lifespan, because this working group will be creating the guidelines and for the way forward for an overall Caribbean entity for Indigenous peoples. So the working group will, in fact, have a lifetime, and the group will have to decide that when it is constituted in a few minutes from now.
So that is our proposal, brothers and sisters. I want to thank you. I don't know if members of my group want to add anything or anything, but if you notice, we walked up here with our Guyana flag. You know, somebody asked me in the interview yesterday, what's her name? Oh my goodness, I should remember her name. Anyway, the lady from UWI, Ms. Karu, she asked, what is it to be a Garifuna? So Garifuna is not just literally, we came from St. Vincent and we are in Belize. It is a network, it's a state of being. So we invite you to be Garifuna, okay? So we invite you to be a part of us. In our caucus, we had a little caucus for the Belizean committee, group delegation with our Maya brothers and sisters. And I said to them, I was delivered by a Maya midwife and born in a Maya community. And the Garifuna, our Garifuna leaders worked along with the Maya people in way back when. So this is the spirit that we want to offer to you as a gift from the Garifuna people. So even though we say Maya, Garifuna, all these different categories, we want to share with you the oneness and the unity. So I'll ask the president of the National Garifuna Council, along with Mr. Avila, to say what our theme, this year, November, every year, can you imagine the power of this, and we want to give you this gift. The country of Belize celebrates the arrival of the Garifuna people from St. Vincent on the 19th of November. So we're inviting all of you, okay? And we do a reenactment of the arrival. And that's powerful. That's powerful because the entire country celebrates us. And as we move forward, as Indigenous people, we want to celebrate you. So in celebration of ourselves, we want to celebrate you, us, as Indigenous people. So Ms. Sandra and Mr. Avila, could you please say what our theme this year? As they come up, our flag The yellow represents what they call the yellow people, the Amerindian Indigenous, right? And then the white
and the black is now we are black.
That's right. Okay, so we embrace each other.
And the theme for this year's celebration is in Garifuna. It's leader in Uwarani, Awa Serani, Mamuleda Wamai. And in English, it is in unity that we progress. Let's not forget.
Okay? Thank you.